give you our keys to the game. Plus, we'll hear from manager Craig Stammen. From the Padres Radio Network, here's Sam Levitt.
San Diego Padres baseball coming up on 97.3 The Fan and the Padres Radio Network, as today the Padres take on the St. Louis Cardinals in the second game of a three-game series. Our starting pitching matchup for the Cardinals, right-hander Andre Pallante, and for the Padres, right-hander Michael King. Hi, good everyone. Sam Levitt with you, hanging inside our San Diego studios. First pitch coming up at 4:45 p.m. here on the West Coast. Coming up in the next 50 minutes, we'll hear from Padres manager Craig Stammen. We'll hear from today's second baseman, Fernando Tatis Jr. I go one-on-one with Cardinals closer Riley O'Brien, and in just a little bit, we're joined by Padres radio voice Jesse Agler. But first, it's time to set the table, brought to you by Fraser Farms Market. Set your table with the highest quality of natural and organic products from Fraser Farms Market, a San Diego original since 1971 with 3 locations, La Mesa Vista and Oceanside, and at FraserFarmsMarket.com. Padres entered today 37-34. They are 2-2 on this current road trip. They won 2 of 3 in Baltimore to begin the trip. The Padres have 2 more games in St. Louis, including today, then a 3-game set against the Rangers this weekend in Texas. The Cardinals are 39-31, a young team that continues to play well. They had entered this series losing 3 of their last 4 games. A good pitching matchup in game 2 of this series. Michael King enters with a 3.46 ERA, and Andre Pallante enters with a 3.88 ERA on the season. We had the series opener last night in the Lou. Let's quickly rewind.
Did you miss what happened in the last Padres game? Let's take a look back with our Padres Rewind on the Padres Radio Network.
Well, we went to the bottom half of the 4th inning in the series opener last night. No score. Alec Burleson led off against Lucas Giolito.
Giolito delivers, and that's in the air out to straightaway center field and deep. Merrill is back. He is at the wall. He leaps up, and he got it. Took a home run away from Burleson. Thought he had number 14, but number 3 took it away. 1 down in the bottom of the 4th.
As smooth as silk.
Outstanding catch by Jackson Merrill kept it a 0-0 game, but later in the inning, there were 2 on and 2 out for Cardinals catcher Jimmy Crooks.
Pitch on the way, that's smacked in the air, deep to left center. Long run, Jackson Merrill not going to get there. Over his head, tried to cut it off on the warning track, but goes in and out of his glove. Both runners will come in to score. It's a 2-run double for Jimmy Crooks, and the Cardinals have the first 2 runs of the night, 2-0 here in the 4th.
Padres trail 2-0 going to the 5th inning. There was a runner on base for Alec Burleson.
The 3-1, Burleson swings, lines it over France, down the right field line. That'll bounce and roll towards the corner. Herrera scores easily from second. Now it kicks away from Tatis, and Burleson standing at second base. The Cardinal lead is now 3-0.
Cardinals led 3-0. Right-hander Dustin May was the story. 6 perfect innings to begin his night. Fernando Tatis Jr. led off the top of the 7th. He drew a walk. The perfect game bid was over. A couple batters later, Manny Machado singled. The no-hit bid was over. Now the Padres had runners at the corners with 1 out. The tying run at the plate, and Gavin Sheets. May induced a double play from Sheets to end the inning. May then struck out the side of the 8th inning. A 1-2-3 9th inning. A complete game, 1 hitter from Dustin May, 101 pitches, and the Cardinals won the series opener last night by a final score of 3-0. Quite the performance by Dustin May. We'll see if the Padres offense can get it going here today against Andre Pallante and the Cardinals. Now, look, any game you play in the major leagues means something, but to me, these next 2 days in St. Louis, well, they mean maybe just a little bit more, because the Padres would have to win the next 2 days to clinch the season series against the Cardinals. And look, you don't want to focus on it too much here in the month of June, but when you start talking about the wild card and what situation you might get into at the end of the year, it would be a little helpful to have the season series over the Cardinals. Padres would now have to win the next 2 days for that to happen. We'll see if they can get off on the right foot today by winning game 2 of this 3-game series. As we get ready for first pitch coming up at 4:45, let's go out to Busch Stadium.
let's take a trip up to the Padres broadcast booth for a deep dive on today's matchup with Jesse Agler in our Padres game preview on the Padres Radio Network.
Well, Jesse, before we focus on the particulars of the middle game of this 3-game series, I want to focus on the Cardinals. Obviously, Dustin May was tremendous yesterday. So good as of late for this Cardinals team. But you look up, Jesse, they're 39-31. This is a young team. It doesn't feel like a lot of people thought they would be in this spot as we get into the middle of June. But this Cardinals team shows no signs of slowing down. They're young and they're fun. And just wondering your feelings on the Cardinals so far as we continue this series.
Yeah, young and fun, I think, are the operative words for sure. Also, they've gotten really good starting pitching, especially in the last couple of months. And look, if you know anything about baseball, you know that if you get good starting pitching, you're going to have a chance. And these guys who stayed healthy, they've pretty much been able to run the same 5 starters out there, every 5 days all year long. And I mean, how infrequently do we say that about any team year after year in sort of this modern era of baseball? So, there they are, 4.5 games in back of the Brewers, kind of firmly in a playoff spot right now. And very much, I think, exceeding external expectations. And, the thing that makes them, fun is the youth, certainly. But it's also that, you've got young guys, some of whom have been around for a couple of years at the major league level who have really kind of leveled up. And, Jordan Walker is the most obvious example of that. And I think what makes it extra neat, from my perspective, is that, they subtracted some guys, right? You got rid of some of the veteran, bigger name people who had been here the last few years.
Yeah.
And, it's always interesting, right? When those names go away, how do the young guys react? And so to see the young guys kind of stepping into the void and really sort of thriving without, those veterans around here is a really kind of neat case study and a reminder of how, different dynamics can produce different results when you're putting a roster together.
Yeah, you mentioned Jordan Walker. Alec Burleson has been terrific for this team. I feel like nobody in baseball talks about him. He's a great player, turning into one for the Cardinals. So they've got a lot of good young talent. Going to be interesting to see the next 2 days how the Padres do against this team. Let's talk about Michael King on the mound for the Padres here today. Was pretty solid his last time out against the Cincinnati Reds. Jesse, he got off to such a nice start. Those first 10 starts or so has been a little bit more up and down as of late. Your take on Michael King, what we've seen lately for Michael?
Yeah, I think up and down is a very fair way to assess it. The thing that was so great about the last time out was the Padre bullpen was really beat up when he was out there on Wednesday afternoon against the Reds. Kind of like the situation yesterday for the Cardinals. They needed length out of Dustin May, and he got all 27 outs. And, similarly on Wednesday afternoon at home, Michael King took the mound in the top of the first inning, knowing that the Padres needed him to eat up some innings because of the state of the bullpen. He got 3 outs in the first on 7 pitches, and he worked his way all the way into the 7th inning. That was the primary assignment for Michael King in that last start, was to eat up as many innings as he could, and he did that. He went 6 2/3 through 106 pitches, and that was what was most important. And baseball karma kind of, I think, rewarded him and the Padres. They came back late, tied the game in the 8th, and, of course, Fernando had the walk-off home run in the 9th inning. If you want to look back to the start he made against the Cardinals in May, certainly, I think to that point, as sharp as we've seen him so far this year, one of his best starts of 2026, and you hope he can replicate that here tonight.
Jesse, Andre Palante, 27-year-old on the mound for the Cardinals today. He has had sort of a breakout year, at least so far. He's been a lot better this year, at least by ERA, than what he was last season. What can you tell us about Palante in your prep for today's game?
Yeah, he's one of those ground ball machines, right? He's straight over the top, kind of a weird arm angle. Last year, I mean, it was just remarkable the percentage of balls in play against him that were hit on the ground. I mean, it was off the charts. A little bit down in terms of that percentage this year, but still extremely high. So, look, if he's doing what he wants to do, he's going to be getting a ton of ground balls. And, look, we've seen, what that can look like when a guy is on. But we've also seen the Padres have success against guys like that. Logan Webb, is somebody who's had a lot of success as a ground ball pitcher in recent seasons, and the Padres have handled him about as well as any team has handled him. So, maybe there's a game plan similarity there that they can try and execute against him. A lot of first pitch strikes from Andre Palante, so we'll see if maybe they're aggressive early. And obviously coming off of yesterday, and what Dustin May was able to do, we'll see, if there's any changes in terms of, trying to break out. But in a weird way, I think yesterday's actually a very easy game to flush. I think May was that good. I think he was that dominant. It just sort of feels like, all right, he did his thing, and now we're on to the next. But yeah, Palante, ground ball guy, Southern California guy, the only one of the 5 starters for the Cardinals that we did not see in that series back in May. And he pitched very well against the Padres last year in a season in which, as you mentioned, he was not as good last year as he's been so far this year.
Yeah, and I'm with you. I feel like yesterday was about Dustin May and how good he was, and we'll see if the Padres offense can bounce back here today. Jesse, appreciate the time as always. We'll talk to you and Tony coming up at 4:35 here in San Diego. Thanks so much.
You got it, Sammy.
All right, that is Jesse Agler joining us on our EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show here on the Padres Radio Network. First pitch is coming up at 4:45. We send things out again to Jesse and Tony at 4:35 as the Padres try to bounce back after, for lack of a better term, not to be too harsh, but they got dominated yesterday by Dustin May. A complete game, 1 hitter on 101 pitches. So we'll see if the Padres can bounce back offensively here today as they take on the Cardinals and young right-hander Andre Palante. When we come back, we'll hear from Padres manager Craig Stammen. A little bit later, we'll hear from Fernando Tatis Jr. as well. First pitch coming up in under 1 hour here on the Padres Radio Network. Our pregame coverage continues after this. Padres baseball coming up on this Tuesday here in America's finest city. Padres trying to sign, seal, and deliver a win in the middle game of this 3-game series. Tough one yesterday. Padres falling 3-0 to the Cardinals. Dustin May was terrific. We'll see if the Padres can get to Cardinal starter Andre Palante today. Michael King on the mound for the Padres in this one. First pitch coming up at 4:45. Let's take a look at the Padres lineup here today. It looks like this for the Pods. Fernando Tatis Jr. at second base leading off. Jackson Merrill in center field batting second. Manny Machado at third base batting third. Xander Bogaerts, the shortstop, batting cleanup. Gavin Sheets at in left field batting fifth. Samad Taylor back in the lineup today in right field batting sixth. Ty France, the first baseman, batting seventh. Will Wagner, the DH today, batting eighth. And Rodolfo Duran, the catcher, batting ninth, with again Michael King on the mound. As we get ready for this one, let's go to St. Louis, hear from Craig Stammen.
Let's pull up a seat in a manager's office and hear from Padres skipper Craig Stammen. Served up by Sinley Food. If you've had better chicken, you must be a rooster.
Hey, Greg, I know you know it from a pitcher's perspective in terms of putting a game behind you and, coming out fresh. From a hitter's perspective, is it the same type of thing after a game like last night?
Yeah, I think every game, no matter how it goes, you put it behind you. But you got to try to learn from it some way or another, good or bad. And there's ways we can take something from yesterday. I don't know what it is exactly, but we can take something from it because we're going to face pitchers like that when they're on, and we got to find a way to battle. And, we kept it close last night. It was a battle, but if it's the playoffs or a game that we need to win, we've got to, find a way to be, a little bit more, able to scratch some runs across or create some havoc on the base pass.
Michael King, although the box scores may not reflect it, it seems as though he's getting more of his entire repertoire on track, especially with the two-seamer. How important is it for him to be able to get back to the Michael King with all of those weapons working to be able to go deeper in ball games for you guys?
Yeah, it's very important. He's the leader of our staff right now, and, we need him, to pitch at his best. He's been pitching well all season, I think. There's a few games here and there that haven't worked out well for him, but he's the guy that we rely on and we think can go deep in games.
The at-bat that Fernando took in the seventh last night, looking to get some offense going, he's able to be patient, stay in the process, and draw the walk. Is that kind of indicative of what his last month has been like when he's kind of really gotten in the right direction here? Yeah,
you're right. He's had a lot of at-bats like that. Even his first at-bat of the game was like that. He just didn't finish it off. Got to the 3-2 count and, grounded out. But, worked him real well. And, honestly, that's the kind of at-bat we needed from everybody in our lineup throughout the day yesterday, the way that May was pitching. He was forcing us to swing the bat. He was throwing everything for a strike. So he was pretty tough last night. But that type of at-bat that he had in the first and the seventh, those are at-bats that we're looking for, just not from Fernando, but from everybody 1 through 9.
How much have you seen him over the last month find more of those, have that consistency, and be in that approach where you all needed them?
Oh, definitely. He's pretty much been locked in on those kind of at-bats over the last month. We felt pretty good about what he's done for us in the leadoff spot. He's kind of, been very patient, but also very aggressive in certain spots. And he's, playing the game really well right now.
What you got from Wandy yesterday, obviously, is why you chose him to be the opener. But, he's kind of an underrated guy. What was it you thought, all right, this is our guy in that spot?
He's done it before. He's been in about every situation you could put a pitcher in his career, so that helps. He's a veteran, and I think he wants to pitch more games that are in the balance. And so giving him more opportunities to do that is what we're trying to do, and that's one way of getting that done with Wandy. But he's also able to get righties and lefties out, very well. It's not a huge drop-off, against righties from a left-handed pitcher. It's actually kind of the opposite. So we feel like he has the ability to get both-handed hitters out, and that's a good trait to have as an opener.
Feel more, like I said, he's underrated probably. You guys know him better than us. Do you feel more and more comfortable with him?
Yeah, I think I felt comfortable with Wandy, from the start of the season, and it's just trying to find what's the best role for him and what allows him to have the most success. And part of that is we have a really good bullpen, and we have a lot of back end guys that are probably ahead of him when we go winning game 6, 7, 8, 9, but he's that guy that's right behind those guys when they need a break, and he's the next guy in, for us to use in leverage situations.
Are you all status quo on Freddie right now? Anything different there?
Yeah, status quo on Freddie. Still going through concussion protocol and trying to ramp up activity.
But in Newhart, anything different going on there either?
Same thing, ramping up activity. Hopefully get him back soon after the 10 days are over or right at it.
So some quick updates there from Craig Stammen on Freddie Fermin and Miguel Andujar. That was Craig Stammen earlier today. We'll hear more from Craig on our post-game coverage coming up later on this evening. Let's quickly pause for station ID on the Padres Radio Network.
KWFN and KWFN HD1 San Diego.
Hi, this is Xander Bogaerts from the San Diego Padres. You're listening to Padres Baseball on the Padres Radio Network.
An Odyssey Sports Station.
First pitch coming up at 4:45 in St. Louis as we continue our EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show. We send things out to Jesse and Tony in a half hour live at Busch Stadium. Let's tell you who's hot, who's not.
Which player is locked in at the dish? Who needs to step up their game? This is Who's Hot, Who's Not. Presented by ASAP Drain Guys and Plumbing, a division of Anderson Commercial, your full-service plumber serving San Diego County.
Couple of guys in the hot category. Fernando Tatis Jr. still in there. His last 20 games, he's hitting .369 with 7 extra base hits and 8 RBIs. How about Samad Taylor? Did not start yesterday, but he is back in the lineup today, riding a 7-game hit streak, coming in, batting .385 in that span with a double, a home run, and 8 RBIs. The not category, Ty France. He is 2 for his last 25, and Xander Bogaerts batting just .145 in his last 21 games. That's a quick look at who's hot, who's not as we get ready for the middle game of this 3-game set. Let's take a look at some Major League headlines as we go around the horn.
Let's examine the most important news and the latest information you need to know in the world of Major League Baseball. Sam Levitt takes you around the horn. Presented by Valley View Casino and Hotel. Get ready for Major League winning when you join Valley View Casino and Hotel's Players Club and receive over $200 in free instant offers. Visit valleyviewcasino.com to learn more today.
Well, let's begin with the Milwaukee Brewers calling up Cooper Pratt, the 21-year-old shortstop. They signed him to an 8-year, $50+ million contract earlier this season. He's been called up from AAA Nashville in the Brewers lineup today against the Cleveland Guardians, the starting shortstop, and sounds like he will be given an opportunity to play. The Royals, Seth Lugo, former Padre, through a bullpen session earlier today. He's expected to start Friday after spending time on the concussion list. Lugo was hit in the head by a 107-mile-per-hour line drive against the Rangers last week, but sounds like Lugo will be back in there later in the week. The Guardians' all-star third baseman Jose Ramirez underwent surgery earlier today to remove the hook of the broken hamate bone on his left hand. It just feels like we've had a ton of broken hamate bones this season. Jose Ramirez, the latest to go down with that, getting surgery to remove the hook. The Reds' Elly De La Cruz is expected to begin a rehab assignment on Thursday, could return to Cincinnati's lineup early next week if all goes well. De La Cruz has been sidelined since June 1st with a right hamstring strain. Multiple sources telling MLB.com's Mark Feinsand that the Giants may be open to offers for first baseman Rafael Devers, shortstop Willy Adames, and third baseman Matt Chapman as we get closer to the trade deadline. The Cubs closer Daniel Palencia has landed on the IL for a second time this season. Cubs putting Palencia on the IL earlier today with right elbow inflammation. And finally, the Dodgers have activated Tommy Edman off the IL. He had been dealing with a lingering right ankle injury all of last season and missed the early part of this season after he had surgery to repair that ankle not long after the World Series. Recovery took a little bit longer than expected, but he is activated as of today for the Dodgers. And that is a full look at some of the headlines from around the major leagues. We'll have a full look at the out-of-town scoreboard coming your way in just a little bit as well. When we come back, we hear from Fernando Tatis Jr. You'll also hear from Cardinals closer Riley O'Brien coming up in a little bit as well. First pitch coming up at 4:45 in St. Louis on the Padres Radio Network. EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show continues here on the Padres Radio Network. First pitch coming up in St. Louis at 4:45. EcoWater SoCal, keeping it soft since 1925. Visit EcoWaterSoCal.com or call 760-350-3338. Let's give you the latest on the Padres injuries.
Who's in? Who's out? This is the Bada Fulkerson Injury Report, presented by San Diego's Bulldog Injury Attorneys, who hope you're never in an accident. But if you are, make Bada Fulkerson the first call you make. Hit them up 24/7 at BadaFulkerson.com.
All right, let's see if I can remember how to talk here. Okay, Freddie Fermin. He left Saturday's game, was put on the concussion IL. Blake Hunt called up whenever he appears. It'll be his major league debut. You would imagine Hunt might play tomorrow, day game after night game. Rodolfo Duran doing the catching for the Padres here today, but Freddie is on the concussion IL. That happened over the weekend. Miguel Andujar to the IL over the weekend, dealing with that hamstring injury. Nick Solak was called up, available off the bench today. Padres obviously dealing with a lot of injuries right now, as we know, but those were the two latest updates on Fermin and Andujar, with Hunt and Solak getting called up. And that's a look at the injury report, a quick one on this Tuesday. Let's take a full look at the out-of-town scoreboard.
Let's take a trip around the bigs to highlight the scores that matter most with our out-of-town scoreboard. Presented by Jensen Premium Beef Patties. Always a hit for grilling.
We have a number of games going on right now. Phillies lead the Marlins 3-0 in Philadelphia. Second inning there. Royals and the Nationals are scoreless in the third in D.C. Blue Jays and the Red Sox scoreless in the second in Boston. White Sox lead the Yankees 1-0 in New York in the first inning. Mets and Reds just underway in Cincinnati. They have a scoreless game there. Everything else coming up later. Giants and the Braves at 4:15 in Atlanta. Guardians and the Brewers at 4:40 in Milwaukee. Rockies and the Cubs in Chicago at 5:05, Twins and the Rangers in Arlington at 5:05, Tigers and the Astros at 5:10 in Houston, the Angels and the Diamondbacks at 6:40 in Arizona, Orioles and the Mariners at 6:40 in Seattle, Pirates and the A's in Sacramento at 6:40, and finally Rays and the Dodgers in LA at 7:10. And that is a quick full look at the out-of-town scoreboard. We'll have much more on all those games coming up in our post-game coverage. Oh, Cardinals closer Riley O'Brien having a nice year, 3.86 ERA. He was flat-out dominant in the first month or so of the season. Remember, the first home run he gave up all season, that came on May 10th in San Diego. That was that Nick Castellanos game-tying home run, the two-run shot with the Padres down to their final strike. Padres would end up winning that game in extra innings, but O'Brien has really burst on the scene this season. He has 17 saves on the year. We didn't see him yesterday. Hopefully won't see him today from a Padres standpoint, but I caught up with Riley O'Brien, the 31-year-old closer for the Cardinals, inside their clubhouse. We'll get into some of your journey a little bit later, because you've been with a number of different organizations. It's taken you some time to get to this point. I do want to mention the guy in the other clubhouse and in the other dugout. Well, I should say other bullpen, Mason Miller. I mean, he has been as good as anybody this season, even going back to last year. What's it like watching him as a fellow closer?
Yeah, I mean, he's one of the best in the game for sure. His stuff is electric, and he's been doing it for a while. So, yeah, it's been cool to see him do it.
You have spent a number of years with a number of different organizations. You get traded to the Cardinals. Now you've kind of burst onto the scene this year. How would you describe your journey as a player, even through the minor leagues?
Yeah, it's been a long journey. I've been bouncing around a little bit. But yeah, I kind of finally feel like I've settled in here, and things have been going well. Really enjoy it here. It's been a long journey to get here for sure.
You mentioned settling in. I would imagine the fact that you guys are a young team that's playing well is a part of that too, right? The fact that you guys are picking up some wins.
For sure, yeah. It's definitely a young group we got this year. It's been, the vibe in the clubhouse has been great. I think guys are really, being themselves and letting their talent show out on the field. So it's been a fun start to the year for sure.
How would you describe, and you mentioned it a little bit there, but this clubhouse as a whole, because again, it's a young team. I think some people looked at the Cardinals entering the year as I don't want to say rebuilding, but at least a team that was going to be young, and they were going to see what they had in a number of guys. So what is the mindset of this group, you think, coming into the year?
Yeah, I think just there's no expectations. There's just a lot of opportunity, a bunch of guys here with talent, and just chances to show what we can do. I feel like whether we win or lose, we're coming back the next day as the same team. And yeah, it's really been a great environment in the clubhouse, and it's been a fun start to the year.
We're joined by Cardinals closer Riley O'Brien here on the Padres Radio Network. You've really taken this closer's role and run with it. You talk to different guys, different relievers about those final 3 outs, and some guys will tell you that they're kind of like any 3 outs during the game. There are other guys, though, that will tell you that there is something distinct and different about the final 3 outs. Where do you stand on that?
Yeah. You try to just think, it's just the same as any other inning, but there's definitely a little more on the line most of the time, especially if it's kind of a 1-run game in the 9th. But I feel like with my competitiveness, I rise to the occasion in those moments and embrace the close situation. So I think it's a role that I've thrived in and hope to continue doing well in.
Riley, let's throw it back a little bit. You grew up in the Seattle area. What was baseball life like in Seattle? You grew up a Mariners fan?
Yeah, I grew up a Mariners fan, going to games, watching Ichiro. Ichiro was always my favorite player growing up. Great guy to watch. And yeah, a bunch of good memories as a kid going to Mariners games.
Have you had a chance to play in Seattle yet?
I did, yeah. Last year was played in Seattle, and then I played in one game when I was with Seattle in 2021. But yeah, it's cool. Had a ton of family there, and it was a great experience for sure.
What's it meant to you and your family to play there? I would imagine that's got to be like totally full circle.
Yeah, for sure. I think last year, I probably had 40 or 50 family members at the game, and it was a pretty close game. I ended up throwing in the 10th and 11th, got out of a couple jams. So the family was excited and glad I was able to throw well in front of them.
And you mentioned playing in a Mariners uniform. I know it was only for a bit of a brief time, but I would imagine that was like a dream come true too, right? To put on that Seattle uniform.
For sure, yeah. That was great. And even when I was in Tacoma, it's close to home. So my family was able to usually come out once a home series. So that meant a lot. And it was nice to be playing around home for sure.
Finally, taking a look back to your college days, I always like to go and look where guys got drafted from, and you look at where you got drafted from, the College of Idaho. I don't know that I've seen a lot of major leaguers from there. So how did you end up at not, I guess, the University of Idaho, but the College of Idaho?
Yeah. I went JUCO first. Didn't really figure it out there. It was kind of in my head. Didn't really have too many offers. And then, my head coach at my JUCO, he went to College of Idaho when he played. So he reached out to the head coach and kind of said that I'm a guy that has potential but hasn't figured it out yet. Yeah. And they sort of took a chance, and junior year was decent, and then senior year everything kind of clicked and ended up getting drafted. So it all happened pretty quickly, but I was just grateful that they gave me an opportunity to keep playing.
Right. You mentioned not having a lot of offers. So now that you can look back on it a little bit and you're in a bona fide role here with the Cardinals and doing a great job, what would you go back and tell that player back then that's sitting there with not a lot of offers and maybe a little bit unsure about what their baseball future looks like? If you could go back in time, what would you tell that guy?
I would say just keep going. No matter how dark it might look, or if you feel like the end is near, there's always a chance to keep going. After JUCO, it felt like there was potential that I wouldn't be playing anymore, but I made it here now. So it's kind of cliche as it sounds, keep going if it's something you enjoy.
And it sounds like you're a good example of somebody that, didn't get the big Division I offers and was not a first, second round pick, but you're a good example of somebody who, if you work hard, you do the right things, you might find a way to get there.
For sure. Yeah. Definitely not the same path that most guys went on, but I think, there's always a chance. I think if you're good enough, you'll get found. So just keep going.
Riley, really appreciate the time. Thanks so much for taking some time to chat before today's game, and we'll talk to you again down the road.
Cool. Sounds good. Thank you for having me.
How will the Padres unlock a win today? These are the keys to the game. Presented by Rock and Block Turf and Hardscapes. Beautiful artificial turf that stays green all year long. Trust and experience. The job isn't done until it's done right. See them at rockandblocklandscape.com.
Couple of quick keys to today's game. Can the Padres slow down Alec Burleson's bat? Burleson had a potential home run robbed by Jackson Merrill yesterday, but he still drove in a run with an RBI double later in the game. He's hitting .323 with 6 home runs, 5 doubles, 17 RBIs, and 14 runs scored during a current career-high 15-game hitting streak. Key number 2, win against Walker. Jordan Walker, really good young player for the Cards. He had 2 more hits in yesterday's series opener, now batting .360 with 8 extra base hits and 12 RBIs in his last 11 games. How about this? Walker and Burleson are both top 4 in the National League in RBIs this season. So, keys to the game, can the Padres slow down both Burleson and Walker? We're going to find out as we get ready for first pitch coming up at 4:45. When we come back, we hear from Fernando Tatis Jr. right here on the Padres Radio Network.
We'll be right back to the EcoWater.
Our EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show continues here on the Padres Radio Network. Sam Levitt with you inside our San Diego studios. First pitch coming up in 20 minutes. We send things out to Jesse and Tony live in St. Louis in under 10 minutes. Let's tell you what to watch for in today's game.
What's the one thing Sam Levitt will be keeping his eye on in today's game? This is What to Watch For, presented by Genesis Home Improvements, San Diego's trusted painting, roofing, and window company. Save 15% today on a new beginning for your home. Visit GenesisHomeImprovements.com.
What to watch for here today. Can the Padres rev the offense back up? If you look at the 8 games prior to yesterday, the Padres offense had been much more productive. They were hitting .251 as a team in that span. They were averaging 4.5 runs per game in that span, a .288 average with runners in scoring position. Really every number, slug, OPS, on base, it was all up in the last 8 games significantly. But then you had what they did against Dustin May yesterday, and it was 1 hit in 27 total at bats. They got shut out. So what to watch for today? Can the Padres offense get it going again? That's going to be a big key in today's game. We shall see if they can do that against right-hander Andre Palante on the mound for the Cardinals here today. Michael King on the mound for the Padres. We'll have more on that in just a little bit. Of course, Fernando Tatis Jr.'s father had one of the real amazing individual moments in Cardinals history back in April of 1999. Hit 2 grand slams in 1 inning in LA, a moment that many people always talk about. Fernando was asked about that and more earlier today inside the Padres clubhouse.
Your dad remembered a ton for the 2 grand slam game over in Los Angeles. Was that a highlight reel you saw a ton as a kid that you wanted to watch back and forth?
I did watch it a ton as a kid, and it's been a topic in the family dinners and stuff like that. But yeah, it's always wondering around.
Then, of course, he paves the way for you to have a career, the career that you've had, which has been just terrific. Just what are the values that maybe you learned from him that have helped translate to your baseball career?
Yeah, just the dedication, the work ethic, how this game is always going to be tough on you, but find a way how to, hold yourself accountable and keep going and trying to play the best game every single day. It doesn't matter the circumstances. So there's a lot that really came from my father.
The at-bat last night, the 7th against May, where y'all are really trying to get the offense going, trying to find one. You end up with the walk in that at-bat. Is that a pretty good example of kind of what a process has been going well for you, especially over this last stretch here?
Yeah, since the first at-bat, May came out of the gate, making some really good pitches. He definitely gave us some tough battle the entire game, but, also, especially going through the 7, what's going on in the situation in the game and how we need to get going as a team. So you just go out there, compete, battle. It's the big league, so it's never going to be easy, So you just go out there trying to find the way how to help your team in every single way possible.
I'm sure these guys have asked you a ton, but over the last month when the contact has been really high, the batting average kind of looks a little more like you want it. Does everything feel different, look different? Like, what about that sort of thing translates for you so well?
Yeah, just mostly into the game, and then game situation. But I feel like I've been hitting the ball hard since the beginning of the year, and finally get some holes here and there to get my knocks in. And but like at the end of the day, there's no secrets. You just go out there and compete and give the best you have every single day.
Is that a thing? The deeper you get into your career, the more you can trust that, like what it feels like when the process is going right, and the results are going to come, right? You just got to stay into it.
Yeah, and it's not easy to sustain that, because you want to see the results and you want to help your team every single day. But in this game, you're gonna have some mental challenge, and it's up to you if you keep going.
That was Padres second baseman tonight, Fernando Tatis Jr., talking earlier inside the Padres clubhouse. First pitch is coming up at 4:45. Let's dive into today's starting pitching matchup.
Let's break down how today's starters are shaping up with our starting pitching preview. Brought to you by Harrah's Resort Southern California and the First Down Sports Bar in Funner, California. Don't just watch the match, experience the glory. Head to Funner for every World Cup match to enjoy stadium-level energy and amazing specials at the best sports bar in SoCal.
Right-hander Andre Palante on the mound for St. Louis, 27 years old, a 3.88 ERA in 13 starts this season. His ERA is a 1.5 better than his ERA last year when it was 5.31 in 31 starts. That is the 6th biggest drop in ERA from last year across the major leagues among pitchers with a minimum of 150 innings last season and at least 50 innings this season. The Cardinals have won 5 of Palante's last 6 outings. He's 4-1 with a 3.34 ERA. In 231 opponent batting average in that span. He has a 2.95 career ERA in 7 outings, 2 starts against the Padres. Meanwhile, right-hander Michael King on the mound for the Padres today, 31 years old, a 3.46 ERA in 14 starts this season, 80 2/3 innings, 72 strikeouts to 32 walks. He allowed 3 runs on 2 home runs in 6 2/3 innings against the Reds last Wednesday. His last 4 starts, Michael's been a little bit more up and down. A 6.45 ERA in 22 and a third innings. That's after he posted a 2.31 ERA in his first 10 starts of the season. He faced the Cardinals back on May 8th. He was really good that day. Gave up 1 run on 1 hit in 6 innings. The 1 hit he gave up was a home run to Alec Burleson, so keep an eye on that matchup today. King against Burleson, but that's a look at our starting pitching matchup. Palante for the Cards and King for the Pods. As always, thank you for listening to the EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show here on 97.3 The Fan and the Padres Radio Network. When we come back, we send things out to the Lou, St. Louis, Missouri. It's Jesse, it's Tony. They're standing by, ready to go. They'll have the full starting lineups, first pitch, and all the play-by-play. I'll talk to you on our post-game coverage later on this evening. You're listening to your home for San Diego Padres baseball, 97.3 The Fan and the Padres Radio Network.
When San Diego